Jack comes at the Metro Court pool, where Carly is preparing for a private party. He confesses that he is the client who reserved the pool exclusively for them. Are Carly and Jack officially together? Carly and Jack take a plunge in the pool and sip champagne. Carly inquires as to what she owes this surprise. Jack acknowledges they haven't spent much time together recently, and he misses her. She admits she has missed him and they kiss. Carly inquires about his current situation, knowing that he is unable to provide specifics. He tells that he is dealing with a difficult problem but it is progressing. He asks Carly what is going on in her life. Carly informs him about Sasha leaving town with Daisy, and she and Michael are devastated since they don't know whether they'll see them again. Carly explains that Sasha believes someone is targeting Daisy, and tells him about the events that occurred. She can't blame Sasha for wanting to protect the baby after what she's been through, but it's killing her and Michael. She admits she wanted to call him to fix everything, but Daisy could have been targeted because of Sunny, so she didn't want their worlds to collide. Furthermore, he has broken the rules for her several times, and she does not want to appear to be taking advantage of him. She claims he is enough for her as is, and he does not need to suddenly solve all of her problems. Jack believes if something is wrong, she should come to him, even if all he can do is listen. Jack has to check in at work, departs and returns but is unable to tell her what is going on. He understands that not being able to share his work with others is probably why he has never attempted to have a personal life of his own. However, simply being with her, even if he can't say anything, helps. They kissed again. Vaughn sets Joss straight. Vaughn and Joss arrive at Jack's office and discover it is empty. Vaughn says Jack has probably taken the afternoon off, and Joss assumes he is with her mother. She yells that it must be against policy to date an agent's mother. He advises she should drop it, that making waves for your boss leads to a boring desk job. He warns her not to go up against Jack. He went from serving a prison sentence to becoming the WSB chief, and he wields enormous power. Joss asks, "So you're telling me Brennan can do whatever he wants and get away with it?" Vaughn says Brennan is the best boss he's ever had, and he's saved him more time than he can remember. If she wants to work for the WSB, she does not want Jack as an enemy. Will Anna or Dante tell Carly about Joss? Anna tells Dante in her office that she believes Jack recruited Joss to work as a WSB agent, and that Vaughn is her partner. Dante cannot believe his younger sister is a spy, but Anna claims she was recruited when she was younger than Joss. She claims Joss is the ideal agent because no one would suspect a college student of being a spy. Anna observes that Brennan has an eye for talent, and after speaking with Carly earlier, she is confident that Joss has been sent to monitor Dalton and whoever he works for. Dante wonders how Brennan could have drawn Joss in. Anna responds, "With Cyrus Renault." Joss was desperate to prove Cyrus killed Dex, so she went to considerable measures to conduct her own investigation. Brennan may have observed her drive, and she wonders whether he was helping her pursue Cyrus. That would have provided Jack with an opportunity to test her, and she always had leads that a civilian would not have. Dante despises the idea that Brennan exploited Joss' grief to turn her into an agent. Anna recalls feeling alone in the world and studying dance when she was recruited, but she knew there was more out there for her. Her recruiter told her she was unique and had the potential to change the world, which is most likely what Jack said to Joss. Being in the WSB filled a void for her, and Joss's experience is likely to be similar. Dante inquires as to when she was trained, but swiftly understands it was during Joss' alleged trip to Easter Island. Anna claims the WSB needed an in at PCU, and Joss was the ideal candidate. Dante wants to know what happens next. Anna claims Joss damaged Emma's research in order to steal her internship with Dalton. Therefore she believes Dalton is up to more than just animal testing. Anna claims Joss has no idea what she is getting herself into, and she has no idea how much the WSB will cost her in the end. Dante knows it cost him his marriage and wonders how Carly would react if she knew Jack had recruited Joss. Dante inquires whether Jack could have used Carly to get to Joss. Anna has no idea, so Dante considers if Carly should be aware of this. Anna says he can't tell Carly since it would reveal Joss' cover, and they don't know what's really going on with Dalton. Anna believes that if Jack is going to such lengths to capture Dalton, he must pose a threat. Dante asks if he would sacrifice an agent to stop Dalton. Guess who's back on Home and Heart? On the set of Home and Heart, Lucy speaks with one of the hosts, Flora, and informs her that Brooklyn is worried about going on television. Flora then assures Brooklyn that she knows she'll be great because she clearly inherited her mother's charm. Later, Flora asks Brooklyn whether she made a mistake by mentioning her mother, as she appears distressed. Brooklyn says that her mother has stepped down as their spokesman, and she and Lucy are now filling in. Flora says the two of them will make sure Lucy stays on topic. Brooklyn and Lucy discuss before going on live, and Lucy claims she has a way to retain the viewer's attention. Brooklyn is concerned, but Lucy insists she knows how to give the viewers what they want. Lucy emphasizes the importance of this portion, and Brooklyn promises to do her best. Lucy needs to know if she is okay. Brooklyn can't stop thinking about how much the audience adored her mother, and she misses her and how they used to be. The episode begins with Flora introducing Lucy and Brooklyn, who congratulate her on her new show, Flora's Garden. Brooklyn and Lucy explain that they are launching a new serum today called Youth Truth. Lucy then introduces a surprise to assist them market the product, Lois. Lois and Brooklyn embrace in front of the camera and Lois whispers, "Lucy told me you knew." "I'm sorry." Brooklyn decides to step aside and let the OG take over, but Lucy forces Brooklyn and Lois to take over and removes Flora from the stage. Brooklyn maintains her composure as she and Lois promote the new serum. Off camera, Flora chastises Lucy for the ambush. According to Lucy, the numbers speak for themselves, and Lois and Brooklyn are a big hit. More. Why is Brit returning, and is she Brit? Jason, was that Brit you saw? In Paris, Jason informs an airline attendant that he needs to board the plane before it takes off, and talk with the passenger. Jason offers to buy a ticket, but the doors are closed, and he is told it is too late. Jason recalls seeing a woman who looked exactly like Brit running to catch the plane. Later, Jason boards a flight back to New York and begins to reflect on his time with Brit while they were running together. He recalls her telling him about her Huntington's disease, and how hurt she was when she found out he was going to marry Carly. In the final moments of the show, Lucy and Flora appear on air with BLQ and Lois, revealing that the serum has sold out. The show concludes, and Flora observes that the mother and daughter have a strong on-air connection. Flora is called away, and Brooklyn chastises Lucy for her stunt. Lucy said she did what she did for deception and for both of them. She claims they are magical, and can't they put this rift behind them and move on? Lois vows she would not have shown up if she knew Lucy had lied to her daughter, but she is proud of her and has missed her terribly. Brooklyn does not look at her mother and threatens Lucy that if she does this again, she will demonstrate how much she has learned from Tracy. She immediately fires her mother and walks away. In her office, Anna tells Dante that she will handle the situation with Joss from here. Dante claims they both lost a lot of money working for the WSB, and wonders if she would have wanted someone to help her out when she was Joss' age. At the pool, Carly and Jack continue to kiss and dream for a future together. In Jack's office, Joss assures Vaughn that she will not jeopardize the mission. He tells her she's distracted, but she can't be since their lives and the operation are on the line. Vaughn receives a call informing him that the courier has stopped in Paris but is heading to Dubrovnik. On the plane, Jason recalls the last time he saw Brit on Cassadine Island. In Dubrovnik, Croatia, a woman who like Brit comes out of a car and is greeted by a man. She says, "It's fantastic to be back." On the following General Hospital, Tracy informs someone, "That's never going to happen." Willow informs Liz, "Tomorrow I become Mrs. Drew Kane." Isaiah tells Portia that if she's going down, she should go out with a bang. Turner tells Chase at the PCPD that because Lucas is present, they should treat this as a possible kidnapping. Sidwell is on the phone and says he expects to receive what he wants in return. Sonny warns Lore, "If you don't, I will." In the General Hospital recap for Monday, July 21st, the show hinted at a connection between Britt Westbourne and Professor Henry Hank Dalton, while Brooklyn Quartermain dismissed Lois Cerullo for an on-air ambush. In Anna Devane's office, she persuaded Dante Falconeri that Jocelyn Jacks did indeed work for the WSB. Anna suspected that Jack Brennan had used the Cyrus Renault situation to entice Jocelyn, and then accelerated her for the Dalton mission. Dante and Anna realized the Easter Island trip must have been a cover for Jocelyn's training. Although Dante urged that Carly Spencer be made aware of the situation, Anna emphasized that they must not risk exposing Jocelyn's cover. Dante remained concerned about Jocelyn and wondered if Brennan would sacrifice an agent for the Dalton investigation. Anna wanted to take it from here, but Dante asked her to consider her own experience and whether she would have wanted someone to step in for her as a rookie recruit. Meanwhile, Brennan surprised Carly by booking the pool for a private party, allowing them to spend more time together. Carly kept them up to date on all the Sasha Gilmore, Corbin and Daisy Gilmore drama, while they drank champagne and plunged their feet in the water. Brennan wanted Carly to feel like she could contact him whenever she needed help, even if he could simply listen. As Carly and Brennan talked, they both sounded thrilled about their future together. At the Paris airport, Jason Morgan attempted to board the same plane as the woman who resembled Britt, but the airline employee turned him down. When Jason boarded his own plane, he remembered growing closer to Britt and allowing desire to flare between them. Jason also recalled Britt's grief when she discovered he intended to marry Carly. Jocelyn complained to Vaughn in Brennan's office about Brennan dating Carly, but Vaughn urged her to let it go in order to avoid upsetting their powerful boss. Vaughn later received news over the phone, revealing that she was on her way to Dubrovnik, Croatia, following the courier's stay in Paris. That's also where Britt, or a woman who resembled her, ended up after stepping out of a car and saying it was good to be back. On Monday's GH episode, Brooke Lynn nervously flew solo for a home and heart appearance, unaware that Lucy Coe was hatching a plan. Lois Cerullo approached Brooke Lynn during the show and apologized quietly. Lucy gave Lois the impression that Brooke Lynn was aware of her impending visit. Brooke Lynn managed to play nice during the serum section, but she went off the rails after the cameras stopped filming. After threatening Lucy, Brooke Lynn fired Lois and stormed out. According to General Hospital spoilers, Lois will have to put in some effort to repair her damaged relationship with Brooke Lynn. Britt and Dalton's growing connection in Port Charles has surprised many, especially given that both arrived with heavy emotional baggage and turbulent pasts. Britt, who has always struggled with trust and intimacy as a result of betrayal, bereavement, and complicated family dynamics, originally avoided most people. She had developed a hardened exterior, sarcastic, skeptical, and quick to push people away. Dalton, on the other hand, came into the picture as something of a mystery. His biography unfurled in fragments, revealing a guy with deep regrets, a violent background he claims he has attempted to forget, and an unwavering resolve to seek forgiveness on his own terms. He hadn't planned on staying long, but when he met Britt, everything changed. Their relationship did not begin smoothly. There were disagreements, suspicions, and lots of misunderstandings. Britt had seen far too many men like Dalton stoic, cautious, and always attempting to weasel their way out of emotional responsibility. But Dalton wasn't all that he seemed. He never disappeared, even when she expected him to. When she lashed out, he listened. He didn't push her for vulnerability, but he never shied away from it. Britt's wall, which she had spent years erecting, began to crack gradually. Dalton saw through her shell to the woman beneath, the one who still craved stability and connection, despite convincing herself she didn't need them. Meanwhile, in another area of town, Brooke Lynn was dealing with her own upheaval. After months of attempting to keep her family intact and her music label afloat, things were swiftly unraveling. Lois, her mother, had stepped in with good intentions but a heavy hand, exerting more control than Brooke Lynn felt comfortable with. What began as a collaboration evolved into a tug-of-war. Lois had her own thoughts on the musicians Brooke Lynn was signing, the direction of the label, and the type of music they should be producing. Brooke Lynn first endured it, feeling it was a worthwhile sacrifice for her mother's industry experience. But as the weeks went, it became evident that Lois was unwilling to play a supporting role. She wanted to be in command again. Brooke Lynn, who had spent years striving for independence, both from her powerful family and from the expectations of the music industry, had reached a breaking point. The label she'd invested her heart in no longer felt like hers. Her mother's more commercial, out-of-date tastes were burying the artists she wanted to support. She started to feel suffocated, second-guessed, and worst of all, as if she was losing her vision. And when Lois began courting a deal behind her daughter's back, that was the final straw. Brooke Lynn approached her mother in a heated exchange that had been smoldering for weeks. Words were said that could not be taken back. Loyalties were questioned and emotions were high. In the end, Brooke Lynn made the most difficult decision of her professional life. She fired Lois. The fallout was immediate. Family members took sides, the press became aware of the scandal, and the label's investors began to ask questions. Lyne didn't care. She was finally standing up for herself, refusing to let someone else's goal overshadow her own, even if that person was her mother. The relocation caused shockwaves through Port Charles, particularly among those who remembered how close mother and daughter had formerly been. But Lyne remained firm. She'd rather risk everything than lose herself again. Back on the other side of town, Britt and Dalton's bond grew stronger. With her new work at the hospital putting her back in the thick of General Hospital's daily drama, Britt found herself turning to Dalton more regularly. He provided her with the kind of support she was not used to. Calm, steady, and without strings. When she had terrible days, he didn't strive to make them better. He just showed up. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of her strength without appearing to know what she had been through. Dalton wasn't flawless and never claimed to be. But he was trying and Britt saw it. Their bond began to attract attention. Some in town were wary of Dalton's motives, particularly given his previous record. Others noticed a shift in Britt, the way she appeared lighter, more grounded. Dalton had a knack of making her laugh even when she was down. He didn't blink when she mentioned her health concerns, family issues, or her belief that she was doomed to be alone all the time. He merely listened. She gradually began to believe that she wasn't as alone as she had thought. Nonetheless, obstacles lurked. Dalton's past hadn't completely caught up with him yet, but there were signs it was on its way. A strange guest in town appeared to know more about him than he let on, and Britt sensed the strain he tried to mask. She addressed him several times, asking for honesty, but he continued to deflect. She recognized the pattern all too well, and it terrified her. Just as she was beginning to trust him, he gave her reason to doubt. Lyne's career problem was now beginning to have an impact on her personal life. Her relationship with Chase deteriorated as he attempted to be helpful, but couldn't truly comprehend the burden she endured. She became increasingly isolated, alienating friends and colleagues who questioned her choice to fire Lois. Even her father, Ned, was caught in the crossfire, unsure how to mediate without escalating the situation. In the midst of all this chaos, Lyne met Britt and Dalton at a charity event, which changed everything. Lyne, tired and emotionally raw, ended up having a quiet conversation with Britt. The two women, who were often on opposing sides of town politics and family feuds, discovered unexpected common ground. Britt talked about how difficult it was to let her guard down with Dalton, while Lyne talked about how devastating it was to cut ties with her mother. The exchange was not overtly emotional, but it was genuine. For once, neither of them was performing. They were simply two women attempting to survive in a world that never ceased demanding more. Dalton observed the debate from a distance, shocked at how readily Britt fit into the society of powerful, opinionated Port Charles women. He wasn't sure where he stood in the long run, whether he'd ever truly escape his past, or if Britt would still want him once she understood everything. But for now he had her trust. For Britt, this meant more than anything. Port Charles may be a community fueled by secrets, betrayals, and shifting alliances, but sometimes the quiet connections, forged in vulnerability and honesty, are the most important. It's unclear whether Britt and Dalton will be able to survive what comes next. The outcome of Lyne's bold decision is still unknown. But one thing is certain: nothing remains buried for long in this town.